Hey guys, what's good? JJJBoxing here. And in this video, I want to talk about where does Gennady Golovkin go from here after this loss. Now, I haven't watched the fight back over and scored it like officially. I kind of just watched the fight as it played out live. Like, I never really score the fight when I watch it the first time. I kind of just enjoy the moment kind of thing. And then you kind of have a feel for like maybe who won, right? But still, I can't officially say how I like how each round who it goes to, right? And you got to take into the factors, the commentators and the people you're watching it with, if they're kind of influencing you on your decision, right? Which could be the case. You have to just watch it, focus, and see who's landing the scoring shots. But besides the point, Golovkin lost against Canelo, and where does he go from here? Um, Obviously, he's an aging fighter. He's 40 years old. He wasn't his regular Golovkin self, and he hasn't been for at least the last 5 years minimum. He hasn't been the full Triple G we're used to. Um, I would say even the first Canelo fight, that was at the tail end of his prime, I would say. He was 35 years old in the first fight, I'm pretty sure. And that's pretty much when a fighter starts declining, I would say. Um, like a world class talent like Golovkin, usually you're not gonna get any better after 35, but you're definitely usually you're gonna start declining after 35. I would say, um, but yeah. So that first fight happened at the tail end of his prime. I think Golovkin was even better when he was 30 years old than 35. So I would say he wasn't even in his full prime when he first fought Canelo the first time. But he was still in his prime, just at the end, like I said. Um, but obviously, he's just not himself anymore. Obviously, Canelo, I would say he's improved. Um, he's improved since the first Golovkin fight, no doubt about that. It's hard to say how much he's improved since his last couple fights. Like, has Canelo kind of reached his peak? And I would say he has. I don't think Canelo is going to get better at this point, but he's going to maintain it for, like I said, until around 35. You'll maintain your highest level, and then you'll start to decline. Obviously, it varies from fighter to fighter, but that's what I've noticed. I noticed 30 years old is the absolute best um, that you'll reach in terms of your physical body combined with the experience you have at 30 years old of age. That's the perfect age where you'll probably dominate. But if I had to pick a range, I would say late 20s, you go into your prime and you get out of your prime at 35, I would say. But the best years are probably from like around 30 to 32 is it depends on the fighter though. But anyway, yeah, I really think he can retire now. There's nothing else to do, to be honest. He's successfully defended the middleweight title since as long as I can remember. Since his professional career began, he's been in middleweight. And people don't understand that. They think, oh, why didn't he move up? Why didn't he do this? You got to understand, he got in the game later in the professional game. He's had tons of amateur experience. Like, he's not a guy like Canelo who started professionally boxing at 15. He was a guy that started competing like on the amateur level at 11 years old and won his first gold medal, I think, at 17 years old. And it was at 140. It was light welterweight, so I think I don't know if it's 140 because Olympics, it's a little bit different. Like welterweight Olympics is a little bit heavier than welterweight professional, I think. I think it's like 152 is welterweight for Olympics. But anyway, he won his first gold medal, Triple G did, at age of 17 in 2000, I think it was. And that was at 140 pounds or light welterweight. So this man has moved up. This man started at 140. Or not started, won his first, pretty much his title at 140. We'll call a gold medal a title pretty much. So, but he's been competing since 11 years old. And you got to look at it like that. Like, why is the man going to keep on moving up when his body, like, that's where he should be. Well, he should be at middleweight. Like, he's 5'10", and that's the perfect size for a middleweight. Why are you going to go up to 168, 175? Because 175 is just too much in my opinion. Even for Canelo. Like, Canelo did it, but that's too much in my opinion. Golovkin, yes, he could have went up to 168 and challenged Andre Ward. I do agree with that. That was a super fight on the table. But I don't know why people like criticize and knock on people who stay in the same weight class for their whole professional career. I think that takes more determination and effort to stay at one weight class than keep on moving up. Like, because you have to maintain your body and you have to stay in shape. And I notice, and I'm not saying it's not an accomplishment to get weight classes. Like, it depends on like how you're doing it, right? But if you're just moving up in weight divisions because you simply can't make the weight anymore and your body's growing, that's different than someone going up and challenging like a challenger that is way heavier than them, and that's not their natural weight. So I just don't understand like how you move up in divisions. Okay, you do get credit for that, but it's not that it's not impressive to move up in divisions. It's just I feel like we kind of knock on people like Golovkin that stay in the same division when really he is taking on all comers at that division. And a lot of these people today, they move up a division and they beat a guy and then they move on when really you didn't even face the best in that division, right? You just get a title and that's it. And I just feel like, who did you beat? That's what matters more. And nothing's wrong with staying at the weight class you're comfortable in. And like I said, what I'm trying to say is, are you moving up in weight because your body simply can't make the weight anymore, or you're lazier and you just don't want to shed the weight? Like, or are you moving up because you legitimately want to conquer another weight class and your body can still make the lower divisions, but you just want to challenge yourself? Because that's two different things, right? And like I said, Golovkin started at 140 when he won his not started at 140, but he won his first gold medal at 140 at light welterweight. Keep that in mind. So that's 140, 147, 154, 160. He's technically a 4-division champion. And he started at 11 years old, so he started even lighter than that. But I'm just saying, at 17, he won the 140 gold medal. So, yeah, so my opinion, he can retire. There's nothing more to prove. He's still, in my opinion, he beat everyone he faced. Like Canelo, sure, he beat him this time, and it wasn't the same Golovkin, but Golovkin in his prime was clearly better than Canelo in his prime. When they fought the first time, Canelo was 28 going into his prime. Like I said, late 20s is when you first get into your prime. And Golovkin was 35 going out of his prime, and he still dominated Canelo. So what does that tell you? Imagine if Golovkin was 32, right? Because Canelo was 32 in this third fight, and Golovkin was 40. Just imagine if Golovkin was 32 in this fight. What would happen? When he was 35, you've seen what he did. Imagine when he was 32. So, for me, Canelo's a great fighter. Obviously, the judges are always on his side, but I don't know, there's really maybe nothing he can do about that, right? Like, I don't know, I don't think he's in on that. Like, he's the money guy, that's just how boxing works. The steroid allegations, like the Kilimbeterol, let's just say we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He did get suspended. Let's just say it got in his body and he didn't mean to do it. Really, the guy is respectable. He's done everything you would want him to do. He challenged everyone. Even if you thought he won or lost the fight from the judges, it's really, he fought his heart out and he fought everybody. And he is kind of a throwback fighter in the sense that he did fight everybody. I do criticize the fact that he did vacate the title, though, but when he was supposed to fight Golovkin, when Golovkin was like 33 years old, he vacated the title that he won from Cotto, so he avoided Gennady Golovkin until Gennady slowed down a bit more. And so there is some critiques there, but he went up and he challenged Bivol. You got to give respect there. I don't know what else to tell you, right? He faces young, hungry fighters. Yes, I know Caleb Plant didn't really beat anybody. Billy Joe was decent, though. He's faced very top level fighters. And the fact that he took on Bivol, that just shows you that he doesn't run from anybody anymore. He's not ducking anyone anymore. Maybe Benavidez, but I don't know. Like, I don't think he's scared of it. No top level fighter's scared. But what more do you want from Canelo, really? Like, of course they built him up, but he far exceeded my expectations. I never thought he was going to reach this point. He proved me wrong, even though I thought he lost the Golovkin fights. He got farther than I thought he would. He improved a lot. He improved way more than I thought he would. His combination punching and his body punching is superb. And he's got a heart. He's got the heart. And you got to give that to him. But yeah, so Gennady Golovkin, as far as I'm concerned, in a lot of people's eyes, especially in my mind, he never lost. And this fight just solidifies his legacy even better, to be honest. Even though he didn't get the win, he showed the heart of a champion. He showed the heart of a warrior because he took hard shots from Canelo. You could tell his body wasn't cooperating. I don't care what they say. Age did have a factor in the fight. He was very tentative. But know what he showed? In the last 4 or 5 rounds of the fight, he started fighting on just pure heart, and his mental strength pushed him. Even though his body wasn't going, his body started to go a bit because his mind was so strong. And he never got hurt, never got dropped ever in his career or knocked down in his 305 fight amateur career or 40 fight professional career. He started to take it to Canelo and later in the fight at 40 years old. And that just shows you the mental strength he has. And I think we'll look back on Golovkin and say, know what? He took on Canelo in his prime for a third fight, and he still put in a decent effort to win the fight at 40 years old, and he never got beat up or anything. And that says something about the guy's character. He's not a quitter in his mentality. You got to give it to Golovkin there. So I really do hope, though, that he doesn't stay too long, because eventually it doesn't matter how mentally strong you are, you're gonna eventually break down more physically, and someone will get you out of there. So I just hope, I know he wants to go back down to 116 and defend all his belts he has there. He's the unified middleweight champion still. I think bring the fight back to Kazakhstan against the right opponent, like that's a good opponent that will sell. And call it a day. Call it a day. Win in front of your Kazakhstanians in Karaganda, and retire with all the belts you got in Kazakhstan, and then call it career, because I think that's what he wants to do. And yeah, it's all up to him, though. His legacy is solidified. He was untouchable in his prime. He will go down as one of the greatest middleweight champions ever. No one tested him at middleweight in his prime. No one would have came close to beating him in his prime. And I know that for a fact. The only person that would have really gave him a fight is if he moved up a division and fought Andre Ward. Other than that, at 160, no one at 160 during his reign was going to stop him. And he proved it with his, like, almost 20 consecutive knockouts or something like that. It was just insane. I think it was more than that, actually. It was some ridiculous number. But highest middleweight championship knockout percentage in history. Gennady Golovkin, Triple G. He'll always be one of my favorite fighters. And I just loved watching him growing up. Like, not growing up. I was already obviously an adult, but I remember just when he first came on the scene on HBO, he was my favorite fighter to watch, him and Manny Pacquiao. Pacquiao was starting to get a little out of his prime, though, so Golovkin became that next exciting guy to me. And it was just such a treat to watch him fight and having friends watch with me and family. And it was like an event because it was like watching like Colosseum fight in the Roman Colosseum. Like, it wasn't even a fact of who's gonna beat Golovkin, like, because you knew no one was gonna beat him. You just wanted to see a slaughter. That's pretty much what it was. It's like what is Golovkin gonna do to this guy? Like, how quick is he gonna knock out this guy? That was the question. It wasn't, oh, this guy is gonna do this to Golovkin. It was like, we're watching a lion eat meat. That was pretty much what we were getting. We're like, a person was getting fed to a lion, and that was the excitement pretty much. It was a primitive thing, and you got it. The knockout came every time. It was just exciting boxing to watch, and I'll never forget that, though, that journey of watching him come up in the ranks, especially at a later age, since he was in the amateurs for very long. He finally broke in the scene professionally. It's too bad we couldn't get him longer, but when he was on that run, he was just wrecking everybody. And it was just something to behold. And he was an unstoppable force in his prime, and no one could have beaten him at that time. So, guys, what should he do next? I think he should retire. It's up to him, though. And I think have maybe 1 or 2 more fights. Have one and end your career with a fight in Kazakhstan. Bring the belts back home and just call it a good day. Call it a boxing career. And big drama show will always be here. He's a great fighter, and yeah, respect to both Canelo and Triple G for the trilogy. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. This is Triple J Boxing. Leave comments in the comment section, guys, because I'm not getting comments lately. So leave some comments, and I'd like to know what you think he should do, and what do you think about his boxing career. Let me know.